Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi. We've got a really good show today because we've got a wonderful example of how you can memorialize your child after they've passed away. I wanted to remind you that our new book that I wrote with my fiance, Dr. Frank Powers, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating, is a book that we produced because we met online, and it helps us to deal with some of the loneliness that we have in America today, dating. My husband passed away almost 4 years ago, and I met a man online, and he is a psychologist, as am I. And we wrote this book together, and how you can find love again after loss. And we want to remind you that it's available on Amazon. 100% of the proceeds go to the Open to Hope Foundation with the mission of helping people find hope after loss. All right, Heidi, we've got a couple of great guests today. Would you like to introduce them?
Sure, Mom, I'd love to. And like you said, we're going to be talking with two parents today who both lost sons and talking about memorializing the death of a child. Bridget Bagley, her son Preston was an Army officer, and he was killed in an automobile accident at 28 years old. I love his name, Preston, Bridget, because that was my brother's middle name. Bridget lives with her husband, Bill Bagley, and their blended family that includes 9 children and 9 grandkids. And she will be joined today by Hogan Hilling. Hogan lost his son Wesley at 33 years old due to medical complications, and he has written 14 books. Together, Bridget and Hogan are the co-owners of Preston's Charm Empathy Kits. They are the co-owners of Preston's Charm, a charming, healthy, and empathic approach to grief. And they are the co-founders together of Preston's Charm Foundation. So welcome to our podcast, Bridget and Hogan.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us, and sorry for your loss as well.
Well, thank you. Could you talk a little bit about Preston? Let's start out with you, Bridget, talking about Preston.
Yes, so Preston was 28 when he passed away. He was my third child. I have 4 boys, and he was the third. And he joined the military right after high school and left shortly after. He was a drone mechanic, and he served with the special forces.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, Bridget. My son is a vet. He's an Army infantry vet, so I understand the military and what it takes to be a military family. That's a lot of dedication. So I want to thank you and him for his service.
Thank you.
So I know I read a heartfelt piece that you wrote about your drinking and how you really fell apart after he died.
Okay.
Tell us about after he died and what happened with you, and then how you got to doing these charms.
Okay, so 6 months before Preston passed away, my dad passed away. In August of 18, Preston passed away. And then in March of 19, my mom passed away.
Oh my goodness.
With all that, life just fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the only thing that, I could find to turn to was alcohol.
Bridget, I really appreciate how candid you were in your article, because, we talk about after a loss, all we need is coping skills. Well, not necessarily. We need adaptive coping skills. And we know, my mom and I, because we've been on this journey, and we met a lot of people that have had a loss. Oftentimes people turn to alcohol because, they're really suffering and they find comfort initially. But in your case, like you said, it got worse and worse and worse, where it was no longer comforting, right?
Yes. And, it came to the point where, 1 wasn't enough, 10 wasn't enough, 15 wasn't enough. And it just was getting worse and worse. And after a couple years of this going on, one night after a bad drunk, I came home and I got up the next morning and I said, I'm done. I am done
Wow.
drinking. And I can't do this anymore, because my main goal was to keep my family together, keep my kids together. I also lost my brother when I was 17.
Wow.
And I know what a forgotten mourner feels like and how it plays a huge role. Me and my mom actually had decided to do the charms in between my dad and Preston passing away. But before that time came, my mom passed away.
Wow.
While we were cleaning up her house, I found all the stuff that we had bought and all of her list of what she wanted to do. So I went ahead and made the charms, and we went ahead and gave them out.
And then you suggested that people start leaving the charms around to help people, right?
Yeah, if you find it, you're welcome to keep it, take it, pass it along, leave it for somebody else. Kind of telling them what it was and what to do with it. I made pin charms, and that was going to be it. That was all I was going to do, was those first 10. And everybody loved it. And when I left them up there, people found them and they emailed me. And so I just thought, I'm going to make more. And that was the therapeutic part of getting through those hard times of no drinking and figuring out what I was going to do with my time besides drink and lay in bed.
I love this charm idea. We're both bereaved parents, and Hogan had written a lot of books about being a dad, raising. How many books did you write about being a dad? And it was kind of your personal experience and how you suggested people do it, right?
No, the first book was actually just a journal that I created about stories I had with my kids, kind of a chicken soup of the soul kind of
All right.
concept.
Yeah.
And then that book led to just writing more about fatherhood and getting more in depth about a father's perspective and a mother's perspective. And then I wrote about 12 of those books. And then my 13th book was on cold cases. And I thought I was done writing. And then all of a sudden I meet Bridget and I'm doing my 14th book. So in 2021, I decided to sell my house in California. And I'd never owned an RV before, and I thought, oh, I'm single, and I thought I'll buy an RV, and I decided to travel, and I was only going to visit the 49 continental United States, and then initially, I thought it was about visiting places, but then it turned out to be a trip about meeting people, and I was interacting with so many people, and 3 months into the trip, I was in Key West, Florida, and spent time with a couple named Tammy and Junior Adams. And the day before or on Christmas Day, they said, "Can you come over to the RV? We have a gift for you." So I arrived there at the RV, and I was thought they were going to give me a box, decorated with ribbon and all that stuff. And Tammy comes walking out of the RV with this charm, and I'm kind of looking at them and well, what is this charm? And then they told me the story. So what happened was they had picked up the charm in South Dakota. One of Bridget's friends, he was doing a motorcycle ride with Bridget's husband, Bill. He left the charm at a VFW. Tammy and Junior picked it up and held it onto it for 5 months. And when they arrived in Florida, they gave it to me.
So on the front of the charm is a picture of Preston, his death date, his name, and over on the side is a poem. This one here says, "If there ever comes a day when we can't be together, keep me in your heart, I'll stay there forever."
Wow.
And on the back is a sticker We've kind of redone the sticker, but this one says, if you find this remembrance of Preston, you are welcome to leave it or take it, pass it to another, or keep it for yourself. My email is on the front to let me know where it is found. Take a picture if possible.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I love that.
This
I
is
Okay.
what
love
it
that.
actually looks like. So this is not the initial design. And on here, there's the Q code where
Uh-huh.
people can scan that. And so Bridget came up with the design. She's such a crafty person.
I love it.
Art and everything. It's incredible.
That is adorable. Okay, so then you got that, and what did it say to you initially? How did you feel when you read that and looked at it? It's
To be honest with you, it sat in my RV for 2 weeks. I didn't know what to do. And well, I really didn't know what to. I was single, and I was out just exploring the world and having fun, and I had no idea the impact.
You hadn't lost your son yet. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I really believe Preston's charm found me. He became my guardian angel for the trip, and the biggest thing he gave me was a greater purpose. And so what happened was 2 weeks later, I contacted Bridget, and like you mentioned before, like Bridget was so candid about how Preston died. So many people don't even want to talk about how their child died, right? And there was just something about Bridget that told me that I needed to do this, needed to hang on to Preston's charm. And I only had one charm, and I didn't want to lose it because I was going to take a picture in every state. And then I wanted to get Bridget's permission to hang on the charm because I thought I'd be on the road for another year or two. And so then she offered to send me more charms, about 60 of them. And then I went around the United States and left the charm in every state, took a picture, told a story about it. And so when I returned to Arizona to meet her for the first time, I put the original charm that traveled with me in a display case with a map of the United States, a picture of JR and Tammy when they gave me the charm, and the charm at the last state, which was Wyoming. So I get there, we start talking, and Bridget opens a bunch of scrapbooks and to show me how she collected the stories and stuff. And then she told me that, Hogan, you were the first person to ever see these scrapbooks. And it just made me feel it was such a great honor for her to bestow on me because I'm the first one that's seen this. And I recognize how much this meant to her. And I thought to myself, maybe I should ask her if she wants to write a book about this. And I was so happy she said yes. And now, like 3 years later, the book's coming out. And just to let you know, she's made over 1,500 charms, just to give you the enormity of this thing.
I was going to ask you how many charms are out there.
I don't know how she does this. I mean, I don't know if she sleeps at night, but it's a wonderful thing. She's made 1,500 charms. I think about 800 in circulation. It's been in every state in America. It's been 16 different countries, 4 different islands. And and after Wesley died, I flew with Preston's charm and Wesley's charm. After Wesley died, she made a charm for Wesley. So I traveled around the world with Preston's charm, Wesley's charm to I don't leave any Wesley's charms. I didn't ask for more because it was kind of like, I think Wesley wants me to just pass Preston's charm. I don't need to do that. And so I just put him on the backpack, Preston's charm on the backpack, and carried extra charms of Preston. And I left one in Dubai, one in India, one in Vietnam, and one in Taiwan. And the funny thing about it, the one in Dubai, like Bridget said, they thought that she lost the charm. They wrote this beautiful official letter kind of thing, right?
Wow.
But this charm has touched so many people's lives, and the greatest thing about it is strangers are practicing empathy for Bridget and her family and for Preston in ways I think Bridget couldn't even imagine. I mean, these are strangers, and what they did with the charm, like the way they cared for Preston's charm and what they do with it. And I'll just give you one brief example just to demonstrate is that a woman found the charm in Hawaii, went back home to Wisconsin, decided to take Preston's charm to a wedding. She goes to the wedding and asks the bride and groom, after she told the story, to take a picture, and they took the picture with Preston's charm.
Wow.
A special day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's your plan for the future?
I would like everybody to come together rather than saying, you know, your son died from suicide and your son died from a medical and your son died in an automobile accident, to know that it's all grief.
Mhm. Yeah.
And come together as community.
Yes. So this is a charm of another soldier.
Uh-huh.
And I made these for his mom. I have not met her, but Hogan has. And she sent me all the information and she picked out what she wanted on it. And then I make 5 charms and they come in a little box like this.
Wow.
Nice.
And they give me like a rundown. I ask them, can you give me, 5 or 10 things that your child liked or that, represents them for you. And from there, I can make the charms to their child.
Wow.
That's amazing, Bridget. What a lot of
You
detail
know
and
how-
work.
You can learn more about these kits on www.prestonscharm.com. It tells the whole story. We have testimonials from people who have bought the charms and passed the charms out to other people. And the other thing I want to emphasize is that this is just not military related.
Mhm.
There are people who have passed away who were civilians, and all, like Bridget said, they all died in different ways. And Bridget mentioned it's like grief is grief. If we got to stop turning grief into competition and find some way to unify the grief community. And Bridget's has created a great way an opportunity for people to open their hearts up and just talking about grief in a way that can make it healthy and productive for people to try to manage the grief better.
I love this. And what's going to be the name of the book that you're writing right now together?
It's called Preston's Charm, a charming, healthy, and empathetic approach to grief.
What a fabulous gift you're giving to the world, Hogan and Bridget. Really amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving us opportunity. I'm just a writer, and this story is really about Bridget and Preston's charm, and I'm delighted and honored to be part of it.
Well, thank you again, and thank you, Bridget, for all the things that you've done in Wesley's name. And thank you so much for being on.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much, Hogan and Bridget. And I do feel like Preston and Wesley are your guiding lights. Thank you for everything you're doing.
And we want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.